Go, I see people. Thanks everyone for joining the show today. So we've got Renegade and we've got Tom.
Hi guys.
So how's the audio for y'all? I'm getting a little bit of delayed feedback. Are y'all good?
It's a little scratchy, but other than that, it sounds good.
Is mine all right?
Sounds good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's
good.
great, Tom.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. The mic was worth the money then.
Awesome. Well, today we were gonna have Austin. Yeah, that's good. So we were gonna have Austin, but he had some scheduling conflicts, and so we're really grateful to Tom from Trax to join us today. And his pitch was incredible. You had the very first pitch, right, on stage, so it's probably a little intimidating going first in front of all the VCs right after we had the VC panel. So just thank you for attending. You brought, how many of your team did you bring to the conference?
We bought everybody. I think it was 5 of us. Yeah, we bought everyone.
I think you're one of the largest teams at the conference. You brought some of them.
Yeah. No. Why not? Like, we're based in London, so we don't get too much sunlight. So any opportunity to fly to Miami, we're gonna take that one.
Sounds great. Sounds good. Well, I'm getting a double audio in my mic, so while I fix that, Renegade, why don't you take it away and let's get us started asking a few questions from Tom, and then we'll get rocking and rolling with this recording.
Cool. Well, so since I didn't get the pleasure of going to ICPCC, actually being there, I kind of followed it, online and everything, and tweeted everything out. But I want to know, like, kind of give us the pitch that you gave at ICPCC, Tom. But also kind of give us an update on where you're at, kind of from ICPCC. That's so hard to say. ICPCC till now, and just kind of give the audience a little bit of an update on what you guys are doing on Only Trax and where you plan to go from here.
Sure. So I'll start with Trax and the project for people who weren't there or don't know what we're doing. It's a music platform that we're building out on the internet computer. We started around October last year, and that was very much kind of build the MVP and start doing some market research, start talking to artists. And we had some great feedback on what we wanted to build. So we kind of were able to set our sights on with a clear vision of what the product we wanted to build was and what we wanted it to look like. And then we started building. It took about 4 or 5 months to kind of build out our MVP, which was quite a long time. Some might say, others might say that's not long at all in tech senses. And then we actually went to Miami before we launched our alpha. And basically where we're up to now, we launched our alpha in about July, and then kind of made some incremental improvements on it. Now we're in beta. We've got about 150 artists on the platform, about 1,000 fans. And the work now is really on growing that number, but also kind of growing engagement with the platform, getting the artists who are already on board to start using it, posting there regularly, and most importantly, earning. So Trax really as a project is designed to enable artists to sell content, whether that's music videos, merchandise, tickets. We're kind of not specific on what you can sell, directly to your fans. And we use ICP for a few main things. The first one is peer-to-peer payments, which I think is really often overlooked in Web3. I think it's something that's so much better than, my background is in payments and finance. So, coming from that, and now you can see you can do pure peer-to-peer payments. You can transfer money around the world in seconds and at really high speeds on the IC, which makes a massive difference for a project like us. So peer-to-peer payments between the fan and the artist. And we started with ICP, and we're just about to launch Bitcoin payments or CKBTC payments. So we'll basically be the first from what I can see, the first music platform where artists can earn Bitcoin for sharing their music. So that should be pretty cool. There's a lot of other stuff. I mean, I think I don't want to talk forever, so I'll let you ask a few more questions, and then.
Well, I was going to say that's what's up. CK Bitcoin is going to be one of the biggest innovations going forward, and CKF as well. Do you have any plans to integrate CKF when it comes out?
Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. For us, it's all about creator monetization, and that comes with just being able to build a system that can allow you to earn in as many different asset classes as possible. So you can currently earn in fiat, which, to be honest, is still the most popular payment method on the platform, probably by no surprise. But then the ability to then earn in ICP, if that interests you, Bitcoin is probably the one we're most excited about because it carries that brand power. And then ETH is, definitely interesting because there are other music platforms on other networks. Predominantly, they just do music NFTs. So if you're an artist, you can go and mint or create a mint for your music NFTs, and then your fans can mint to kind of support, and they collect a music NFT when they do that. All of those platforms either run on ETH or on an ETH L2. But the UX of it is very kind of clunky. Obviously, it's slow because those chains are slow compared to the IC. But sort of the gas fees and the way that works is, especially when gas fees were really high, it actually killed off quite a few of these businesses because, if you're collecting a $10 music NFT, you're not going to pay $50 in gas. So with the IC being, the reverse gas model where we pay the gas fees, it's a no gas experience for users. I think it offers some considerable benefits to artists and their fans who want to do music NFTs and that kind of thing. So we're super excited for that. That should be out in a couple of months. But yeah, definitely on CKETH. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And for those, you mentioned briefly that payments were your background. For those who don't know, Tom, you've got a successful exit in your past as an entrepreneur from the fintech space. So I think that's always good, like especially within our ecosystem, seeing founders who've gone through that, gone through a successful exit. So it's great to have you as a builder in the space, and to bring that expertise and that entrepreneurship knowledge here. I think you've got, from a lot of the people I talked to at the conference, really strong sense of how to really run a business, which is like you said, it's really important. And you talk, it's really important, and sometimes people forget it in Web3, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Renegade, you got any other questions?
So yeah, I'm not trying to hit you with hard-hitting questions that are gonna make you uncomfortable or anything, but I have to ask you this. So I have done interviews with other people in the space, and I love what you're doing here, man. I'm gonna let you know that right now. But there are other competitors in the ICP space with music type stuff. How are you guys gonna stand out different from them to make your project, or at least collaborate with them as well to make both of your projects good? But how are you going to stand out apart from them? And are you planning collaboration with other music, creation platforms on ICP?
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple of others. I don't mind mentioning names. I think it's, why not be transparent? So Canastore and Itoka are the two leading other, I'd say, music projects on the IC. Canastore is very interesting. They do a lot. It's more focused on music licensing and distribution. And I watched the episode that you did a couple of weeks ago, Barry, and they've obviously just released their kind of, I don't know what it is, demo or beta or something like that. So I want to see how they fare over the next few months. I think, it's interesting to see how they evolve. I don't think we're necessarily competing. I think they could actually be complementary products down the line. But obviously we want to see, when it's live and when it's running, and then we can look at how we might choose to integrate it with it or not. And then Itoka, that's more on the AI side of things. We haven't put too much emphasis on AI despite it being such a hot, craze kind of right now. It depends on, I suppose, your angle towards what you want the future of music to look like. We're more concerned about how do we take real human artists and give them the ability to earn more, to kind of improve creative monetization. I think Itoka is more of a tool for, if you are an existing music artist, to be able to start creating a lot faster, or be able to create things with ease that you would have taken hours, previously. So definitely, we could look to, once they're a bit more developed, some kind of integration where maybe you could create a post on Itoka and then post it to Trax and sell it. Something like that could be interesting. So yeah, I think just with IC projects in general, because it's still so new and the tech is evolving all the time, it's very difficult to kind of stay up to date on all the new updates. So I want to see how they fare, how they get on doing, what they're currently doing. I think it's important that projects, even though collaboration is important, I think projects need to make sure they're delivering on what they set out to do first, and then collaboration comes after that. But yeah, it's a small ecosystem. We will be working together, I'm sure, down the line. And I wish them all the luck with building what they're building.
You have a great mindset, bro, and we need people like you in this this space, bro. Because like he was telling us earlier, you come from fintech. You have the knowledge. You're obviously a very mild-tempered person who's very nice and smart, and you understand that building your product is on ICP is the main thing, and then going for the collaboration and all that stuff next. So when it comes to there's a question in the chat I just want to ask: is there any specific date issued for the launch of the Trax Music NFT? Have you been able to enroll 1 or 2 artists?
So yes. Basically, when we launched, we kind of set out saying we weren't going to do music NFTs because there are already so many platforms where if you're an artist, you can do a music NFT. Not on ICP, but on other platforms. So it's sort of like you don't really have a competitive advantage. But it's been so widely requested by the artists who've joined already that we thought, okay, let's build it. So I don't have an exact launch date. I can say from our developer Jira board, or what we use to run our dev stuff, it's saying around October. And it will be quite a comprehensive system. So you not only will you be able to do mints in ICP, but you'll also be able to do mints in Bitcoin. And yeah, we do have some artists already on the platform who are interested and will be doing it when it launches. But also we're planning something a bit bigger in terms of collaborating with some more well-known artists. And they'll be doing some music NFT launches on Trax. So I can't say too much because the deal isn't signed. But yeah, that's coming. I hope October.
So you can't name drop yet on any of the artists,
can't,
right?
Unfortunately.
Dang it, because I know one of them. I wish I could, but I can't. If you can't, then I can't, obviously. Well, I'll suffice it to say that I've heard a name mentioned when we were getting ready for the conference, and it was very, very impressive. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for when that information comes out. I didn't even know that was alpha. Yeah, good job, man. Awesome. And as far as anybody else has questions, we're gonna go ahead and we'll have time for more questions a little bit after the recording. And I just want to introduce that this recording is a little bit different than all the rest. So this was the Pitts event. You had a little bit less time. I think it was 15 minutes that you were allowed on stage. And so I think we'll go ahead and play the recording. We'll all get kind of a brief overview. I think you did a great job during your pitch. And this will be the first time it's seen live over the internet. And then we'll come back around and take more questions from the audience and kind of keep going here and just dive more into Trax. Does that sound good, guys? Okay. Awesome. And real quick, Tom, before we go on, is there anything like since the conference that you would want to hit on, or anything that any updates in particular, like might be you presented it back in May this way, but things are different now, or is it all pretty much still applicable what you presented in May?
We haven't deviated too far from what I pitched. And we also have is there any way for me to send links? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I'll just post this in our little private chat, and then you can share it out. So this is our roadmap, and we're trying to stick to this as close as we can. And it covers basically all of the innovation that we're doing on the IC with related to Trax, and kind of our intended timeline for release. It's also got in there a bit of all the stuff that we've released so far, which is sign in, authentication with NFID and internet identity, uploading content to the IC, like MP3s, MP4s, ability to earn in ICP, in dollars. Royalty splits is something I touched on. I think we might hear it when we go through the presentation. being able to split royalties in real time using a smart contract as opposed to pieces of paper. I think that's an important step forwards for music in general. And then kind of just a run through of all the different ways of which artists can earn. So tipping, pay-per-view, there's subscriptions. There's really kind of an abundance of choices for artists to make the use of when they use the platform. So definitely recommend anyone to check out that link I just sent, because it gives you a good idea of at least where we're looking, what we're looking forwards to in terms of future releases.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, without further ado, let's go get started, and let's go see your pitch from back in May, the ICP Community Conference. Be back at you guys.
And we have Tom from Trax on stage. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom. I'm from Trax. I'm one of the founders. Oh my God, it's bright. So Trax is a social marketplace for music. I think it's good to sort of start a little bit by setting the scene. My presentation structure, fairly simple, standard kind of startup pitch deck. I'm going to run through the problem, at least how we see it. Then talk about what we perceive the solution to be, both in Web3 and why we're building on ICP. I'm going to take a look at traction from our end, how it's been going so far, quick look at the product, and then some more stuff about our business. So, the problem. The music industry is in dire straits. That's a pun for anyone who knows. So we really believe at Trax that music artists deserve better. The first issue is pay. The majority of music artists are dependent on streaming payouts, which have been going down year on year. If any of you have ever put music on a streaming service, you're going to be paid fractions of a cent per stream, which works great if you're Drake, but doesn't work for anybody else. Second issue is that artists are typically last to get paid. Traditional sort of Web2 music industry, there are a lot of middlemen, record labels, digital streaming providers. They stand between the artist and the fan. The fan is who's paying the artist at the end of the day. And the hope with Trax is to build a bridge. The final thing really is that there's no other option for artists in Web2 at the moment. And that's why we're seeing some success with Web3 music, which has been blossoming recently. Lots of artists discovering music NFTs, coming over to Web3, and earning much more than they've ever been able to earn. As you can see here, well, I'll talk about it now. We did some market research about maybe 3 months ago, where we spoke to Web3 artists, non-Web3 artists, music fans, and I've highlighted sort of some of the main interesting pieces of insight that we got out of that piece of research. So at the top, lots of fans would be willing to pay for exclusive content. Have a think, who's your favorite music artist? How much would you be willing to pay for a new album, for example? 4,718 minutes of streaming. That's a lot of time. If you think about it, it's a lot of streams, and that's only to earn £12.50 on Spotify. Another issue that I'll kind of touch on later is about funding. If you're an artist nowadays, you have to go to a record label to get fronted, to then be able to perform, sort out tours, record an album, etc. Lots of artists are struggling to find the funding to have their first concert. We don't think that's particularly good. And finally, really a sort of unhappiness with the current system. Artists aren't happy per se with how much they are earning from these streaming platforms. So, what are we doing at Trax? What's our sort of thesis? And it's this, it's to put monetization back in the hands of the creator. The first reason to do that is that you can have better pay, far better pay. The artist pays, or the fan pays the artist directly. And lots of music fans are aware of how artists are getting shafted in Web2 music. Secondly, more control. Lots of artists are dictated to by their label what sort of music they should produce, when they should put their album out, who they should feature with. With Web3, you're really in full control of both your community, but also when you want to release your music, what sort of music you want to release. And finally, the key element really is Web3. So we're a Web3 platform. As opposed to relying on paper contracts, centralized servers for storing of files, the idea here is to bring artists into the fray and to sort of create a new standard for music and music engagement. Bit on traction, some nice graphs, which is always good to see. We've had some success with artists joining. We've been onboarding artists since about the start of the year. We're about we're in May now. We're over 150 artists have signed up, all different backgrounds. Some people who've previously been signed to labels, some people who are just starting out. But we've really seen a lot of interest in the platform and what we're building. From a user perspective, we ran a viral waitlist campaign for a couple of months. That brought in a huge number of emails, and then we were able to use Funded to sort of kick off our fundraising, and that was great. And finally, social following. We put a lot of time into creating great content, building a social community, and we've had a lot of success, so over 1 million impressions now across our social channels. On the product itself, I won't show a video. You can go to our website, app.onlyontrax.com. The alpha is currently live. We're releasing our first batch of features, which is what I'm going to talk about now, in the next couple of weeks. So we're really excited. The plan is basically to onboard the artists who we've signed up so far onto the platform, get people to start using it, implement some feedback, and then move from there. So, Internet Computer, why we're all here. We were previously building a different project actually on Polygon, and the experience was not as enjoyable as it's been on the Internet Computer. But we really chose to come and bring Trax to the Internet Computer and build it here for a few different reasons. So first, and the first batch of features that we're focused on is payments. Now, I don't want to go too dummy level, but in crypto, payments are peer-to-peer. In Web 2, payments aren't peer-to-peer. So if you want to facilitate payment between two parties, you need to use something like Stripe. You need to use multiple banks probably. And there are fees all along the way. And what that does is it cuts down the ultimate amount of money that the creator gets at the end of a sort of payment cycle. So we have we did it yesterday actually, integrated tipping into our app. So now artists can receive ICP, down the line Bitcoin, and hopefully more currencies after that. So we're going to have tipping, pay-per-view, subscriptions. There are lots of ways that artists can be earning, and we want to facilitate all of those. The second is DAO governance. The SNS, I think it's causing some controversy at the moment, especially on forums. We hopefully want to have an SNS if we're allowed to. But the idea for our SNS is really to generate engagement. So to have a sort of a DAO that runs on top of the platform where artists and fans on the platform can both reward engagement, but also take part in platform decisions, the moderation of content, censorship. There are lots of issues for a platform like us, and we think a DAO can actually help us solve some of those issues. End-to-end decentralization. That's the big selling point, I would say, of building on the Internet Computer. We're not fully decentralized now, but the idea is that ICP gives you everything that you need to be able to build out our entire application on chain. So we use a handful of Web 2 systems, and the idea is that we will transition from Web 2 to a fully decentralized model. And I'll show you the roadmap sort of at the end. And finally, I think it's just important to touch on, there's been a lot of good work recently, Carbon Crowd, Definity, on sort of carbon neutrality and how good ICP is comparatively for the environment. So those are sort of 4 driving factors behind our decision to come and build on the Internet Computer. Business model. I think it's important, and it's maybe something that's sometimes forgotten by Web3 projects, is that we're meant to be building a business. It's important to have a business model. Ours is very simple, and we have a goal by 2025 for 1 million transactions on Trax. Ambitious, maybe not, maybe it is. We did a bit of research when we were putting this together, the sort of amounts that you can expect from a transaction on a music platform like ours, which is sort of like a Web3 Bandcamp, and that's about 59 pence. That's 70 cents. And so we have a kind of revenue target of about 700K by the end of 2025. So market opportunity. As I said at the start, the music industry has actually been struggling with revenue for a long time. Adoption is there. Everyone uses Spotify, everyone uses Apple Music, but streaming is causing this race to the bottom for value in the music market. If you look at it compared to something like gaming, gaming's been shooting up recently. Music continues to plummet. But regardless, it's still a multi-billion-dollar market. Recent valuation around 17 billion. Now, obviously, that's dominated at the moment by streaming services, but there is this subset of the market which is sort of platforms and social marketplaces like Patreon, Bandcamp, and that's where we see ourselves. So that makes up about $2.2 billion of that market, and we're looking to go for a 5% market share, which would put us sort of equal footing to Patreon. That's the goal.
Tom, you have about 1 minute.
Sure. I'll quickly run through this. Maybe you can see this, maybe you can't. Really, the idea for Trax is to be a Web 2 experience, but with Web 3 features. Roadmap, probably the most important thing. We are just about to launch. We're a couple of weeks away from launching. We've onboarded our first batch of early bird artists. And then we have some exciting things coming up. So first of which is to sort of integrate Bitcoin, allow artists to earn in Bitcoin. Then potentially add NFTs. Music NFTs is a growing sort of subset of the market. We'd be stupid to miss out on it. Then our DAO, hopefully via an SNS sale. We have a goal for 10,000 transactions on the platform by the end of the year. And then we're looking to really sort of go mainstream. Mobile application, creating some features like Curate to Earn, which rewards fans for engaging with the platform. And then we have a goal of 100,000 transactions next year. Team, that's me at the top. You can come find us afterwards. We've been working together in Web3 for a couple of years. Luke and I, who's the founder of Plug, worked on a previous startup, sold that. So we do have some experience. We might be young, but we do. Bit on the raise, I'll leave that up there because I know we have some investors. It's a small seed round we're looking to raise, and hopefully that gives us funds to sort of grow and build what I've just been talking about. I think I've run over.
All right, thank you.
All right. That was good, man. Yeah, when you walked up and you first said, "Oh, gosh, it's bright." Yeah, I didn't realize it until I was up on stage myself. But man, it's blaring. You could not see a single person on the other end of the stage at all with how bright those guys had set up the lights there. But yeah, no, dude. Overall, like it was great pits. I just love pitches in particular because I like hearing like numbers and like business facts and figures included, because a lot of times a lot of the other talks have just been about the tech in general. But hearing about the business side was really fun. One thing that, I was watching it through the second time today. You mentioned that you had a different, your team was working on a different project than Polygon first, and then before you shifted. I'm just curious, like, what was that project? Was it within the music industry? Was it on payments like you had done before, or like, I don't know.
It was DeFi. It was using basically NFTs, or trying to advance NFTs to use them as financial contracts, or kind of basic financial contracts. So we built like a bond, an NFT bond, so you could set how much you wanted to invest, a time frame, and then kind of receive an ROI. But you would receive an NFT as kind of proof of your investment. Mm-hmm. And then we ran on Polygon, and we used Chainlink keepers to basically trustlessly make sure that these contracts were being fulfilled and that you were receiving the right rewards, and calculate rewards rates and stuff like that. So that's what we were building on Polygon. Basically, Polygon too big for its own good, I'd say. Too many projects. No grant funding, no real hackathon. We entered the hackathon, didn't even place, which is a bit disappointing. So yeah, we were like, right, time to move. And Luke, who I'd worked with before, had been building crowdfunders, it was called at the time, on the ICP, and he was having a great time of it. They'd just won the hackathon, I think, or came second place. They're getting a developer grant. And I took some convincing to move from Polygon to ICP. At first I was like, what is this? The chart looks terrible, but the more research you do and the more you actually understand the protocol and how it's built and why it's built this way and why it's better, and then when you actually start building on it, I think it's the best around at the moment, in terms of speed, in terms of kind of the ability to develop proper applications. So I think it's got a great future ahead. It's just a shame that it's had such a terrible chart to look at. But
yeah. Well, and I think
You gotta remember FTX though, man.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason behind that, you know. And he's in jail, Sam Bankman, so we don't have to worry about that next bull run.
Yeah. Renegade, I tell people it was like a flock of black swans, right? When the token launched, you know, the market itself, and then the manipulation, and then the FUD, and then the misunderstandings. Yeah, it's like a lot of things. And that was cool hearing that story, Tom. And for those who don't know, like, and I've kind of pieced this together. So like, you had worked with Luke on your previous business that you'd done the exit on, and then Luke started Funded, and then Luke's brother Isaac, same first name as me, is also doing was it VaultBet, I believe. So it's cool. Like Luke has been the center of his own like mini ecosystem where he's gotten contacts, like his impressive contacts to come together and build cool stuff on the IC. And there's been multiple IC ventures coming out of that. So it's kind of cool to see that cohort there. Let's dive into some of these audience questions. So Renegade, why don't you take it away with reading this one out for our audience here?
Okay. Mauricio. Good morning. What would be the biggest challenge for building Trax on the ICP network? So basically, she's just asking, what is the biggest like challenge for building this? Do you see it as like adoption, or do you see it as like tech issues? What is the biggest challenge for you guys?
It's a great question. I would say the tech is still early stage, and people need to understand that. So although there is this future which could very well be possible for all of these sort of applications to run fully on the IC, and everything's decentralized, everything's governed by a DAO, it's a very kind of utopian future. I like it. It might be possible, but people should also bear in mind that it's currently not. So we do some things. For example, we've just built the ability for artists to upload content and store it on the internet computer, but then that has to fit within the rest of our kind of social media application, and then it has to interact with the payment smart contract. So there's quite a lot there. Now, one issue we had, for example, is when you upload stuff to the blockchain, you have to chunk it. So it means if you've got a large file, you have to split this file into bytes, basically 2 megabyte chunks, which you can then upload one at a time. So if you imagine if you're uploading a 10-minute music video or a documentary about how you made a song, it's got to be chopped up, uploaded, and then to stream it back so you can store it on the blockchain. That bit's not too difficult, but then reading that data from the blockchain, chunking it again, recompiling it. So there's all these little things. So Dfinity is doing a lot of great work to improve elements of this. For example, they just changed from stable or heap memory to stable memory, which means that a canister can now hold 64 gigs of data, whereas before it was more like 4 or 8. So they're improving things all the time. And I'd say it's just quite difficult because it's so early and there isn't so much documentation, tutorials, all this kind of thing, to always keep your finger on the pulse of like, what's the most up-to-date way of doing this on the IC? The best way for people who want to build, I would say, is go for a grant. And then, during your grant process, they'll give you a lot of feedback and they'll share code bases with you and they'll give you advice on how to stay up to date. So yeah, staying up to date, but then also just allowing the network to develop so that you can do or build whatever you want to build.
Oh, great answer. Yeah.
Good.
And we got a question here from Daniel. What's the company's strategy to get more exposure, gain visibility, and build a significantly larger user base? And I think this is related to we talked about the roadmap, right? And that's the technical roadmap, but there's also kind of like this marketing roadmap, and kind of with business models like this, is a chicken and the egg problem. Like the audience, the artists are going to want the audiences are going to want the artists. So like, what has kind of been your thinking on when you'll enter that phase, and then what you do, like what you'll do with it?
A couple of things. So, and we're going to be launching this on Monday, is a referral program. And we're hoping that kind of starts to drive just organic growth with the people we've already got on the platform, referring their friends, them referring people. And similar businesses to us, I've been doing some research, reading about how did they grow, how did they start. And common theme is our referral scheme is what took us to sort of stardom. So I think that will be play an important role in our growth. The other element is just who can you attract by way of artists to the platform. And what we've found is that music is a very much like a relationship-based industry. You have to build trust with managers, labels, the artists themselves, and that takes time. And there's no jump. You can't just skip that step. So we've been doing that over the last few months. We've joined the Music Managers Forum, which is a big like trade body in the UK for all the managers. We've had a couple of people join the team who are from the industry themselves, and they're bringing relationships that they have that predate Trax, which is great. So the plan really is to acquire artists for what we can afford at the moment. So these are going to be emerging artists who we think are going to sort of blow up in the next couple of years, and use the platform initially just to help them start earning directly from their fan base. And then once we've got some success stories, this artist earned this much, or compared to what they earned on Spotify, then it's much easier to sell it to larger, providers of music, labels, that kind of thing. So we're already having some really good conversations with big names, I would say, in the industry. They just want to see it work first for some artists, and then they're more likely to come on board. So yeah, I think with a platform like this, it really is all about the talent that we're able to bring onto the platform. Who are we able to get on Trax? But we do have a few, like I was saying earlier, irons in the fire that, October, you'll see.
All right, great. And then we got another question here. Let's take it away, Wintergate.
All right. Ada Dukin, we'll just call you James, buddy. James, how do you intend to get these artists to get funds to perform without involving the centralized influence of record labels? So what I think, this is just talking like about, like if they're wanting to like do a tour or something, like is there any plan for like actually funding these artists beyond just your platform? Or is it just like a platform thing that you can do without a centralized authority after that?
Yeah, so this is where the SNS comes in for us. And we think we have a really novel, good use case for it, which is, once we have a treasury, which will be governed by the artists on Trax, the users, the developer team, anyone with tokens will be able to submit a proposal to essentially what will be a DAO for funding for their music career. And then the artists and the fans who are on the platform will be able to vote on whether they think that artist should receive that funding. So I think it's just a really interesting way to basically to answer this exact question. How do we make artists or give artists another option that's not just get signed and go to a label to get your money? It's, apply to a platform via a DAO, receive tokens, use those tokens to do whatever you want. You want to do a concert, you want to master your album, you want to record a music video. We're going to leave it open to people to choose. So it's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about the SNS and what the SNS can do for Trax, because I think, like you were just saying, Isaac, that chicken and egg problem, if you're able to bring in a DAO and a token that can incentivize engagement and reward early adoption, it's a great way to get kind of the ball rolling. And once the ball's rolling, if you've got enough mechanisms in there, like referral schemes and rewards and benefits, and the experience is good enough, then it could really start to take off. So that's what we have in mind. And hopefully by the end of the year, it will start playing out in real life.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's actually, I was surprised by your answer too, because I know that you had mentioned working with record labels before. So I thought, yes, we're going to work with record labels. And I personally think it's fine to have some components that are centralized in a business model that contains a decentralized component. But yeah, I didn't expect you to say, like, it's almost like you're describing kind of a decentralized SNS type record label where they could vote, which which is kind of a whole different level of excitement other than the utility of the actual dApp itself. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty cool. And here's another quick question by Maggie. What are the measures you're going to be putting in place for easy onboarding of music artists who might be unfamiliar with Web3? And I imagine part of it might be that you're going to first go after the ones that are familiar with Web3, but of course, their familiarity might vary. So I get the question here.
So already, I mean, people can take a look. I'll send the link in the group. So this is the domain name for our site. If you have a look at the sign up process, it's already very easy for Web2 people to use. So although you can sign in with internet identity and you can use all the Web3 features, you can also just use an email and password if you want to. And I think it's important, music artists, they have fans who, some might be crypto friendly, Web3 friendly, they know how to use a wallet, all of that, but the majority still do not, or don't care enough to use that sort of piece of technology. So it's important that I think we provide a service that's usable and enjoyable for both Web 2 and Web 3. And then the idea is once we start to acquire these users, they're within our system, we can start to funnel them from Web 2 users into Web 3 users through the stuff, for example, through like rewarding engagement, via an airdrop. Then you would have to create the wallet, which means then you're joining the ecosystem and then you might start exploring. So I think it's almost like a nurture program that we can start taking Web 2 fans and then introduce them to all these cool, new, exciting Web 3 features, all these things that you can do on the platform. And then hopefully from there, they then learn more about ICP and explore the rest of the ecosystem. So that's how we're approaching that problem.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, it kind of almost ties back to the original shift from Polygon because on ICP you can make it indistinguishable from the rest of the web.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. And Renegade, take it away.
So from Telexi, we have, apart from artists, who else can benefit from the project?
Ooh, good question. Well, fans. So the fans of the artists. The idea is that the artists put content on there and then the fans get rewarding experiences that the artists provide. So it's kind of for that artist super fan relationship. That's what we're focused on. Now, when we started, we did have some initial conversations about, why music? Couldn't this be useful for all forms of creators? I think there's definitely still legs to that. I think as a startup and as a project, it's always good to have a niche, and music being a niche in itself, it gives us target market, it gives us target customers, competitors. So it gives us everything we want in a startup at the start. But once we prove that it works for music artists, then it's a great question. Why couldn't this work for video creators, gamers, whoever it might be? And if the entire point of it is about monetization and earning more, then you should be able to attract those people to the platform. So I'm not going to say we're going to be open to all forms of creators. At the moment, we are keeping the music specific niche, and we might continue to do so. But down the line, who knows? We could pivot to being an everything platform where any creator can earn and post to their fans. So yeah.
Actually,
can I elaborate on that? Oh, sorry, Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question first.
I just wanted to ask if I could elaborate on that because if you have artists there and then you have like followers, super fans and stuff, it's going to benefit the fans because they can interact directly with the artist.
Yeah.
Like on the thing, and they can pick exactly what they want, at each time. So I think it's going to benefit the users in a different kind of way and give them that more like intimate kind of feeling, like actually, being kind of close with the artist, like getting to know what they're doing, maybe even have like a bio on there of like, the artist or something, and just like give another level to the fans. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. And what I was going to comment was, I really like your answer because that level of focus, it kind of shows your experience in entrepreneurship. In an early stage venture, you need to keep razor sharp focus. It's hard enough to get that product market fit with one specific audience or target market. Most ventures fail because they try to do too much at once. So other ICP innovators out there, it's not just about like what opportunities you chase. It's about what other even valid opportunities you're able to say no to because you're keeping your focus honed in on the product market fit for a specific audience, at least early on. You know, once you're big, the world's your oyster. There's more that you can always do. But I really liked hearing that. That's great.
It's super important. I think all projects should, you know, you're meant to be delivering value, and you should know who the customer is you're delivering this value for is. And if you don't, then you've got a problem, and you should probably stop and figure that bit out first before you move on. So, yeah, I mean, I think on top of that, music tends to be, we have separate platforms for enjoying music. You know, you listen to your music on Spotify or Apple Music, not on Instagram or Facebook, even though it's got the same tech capabilities and you could technically listen to music on those platforms. People don't choose to do that because they kind of separate the music or enjoying music from the rest of their kind of web experience. So I think, you know, keeping it music only maybe benefits us actually.
Yeah, having that specialization. Is a good question from Johnny Tim. What steps can I take as an artist, performer, and ensure my active participation in your upcoming live event in the music industry? So I'm not sure what upcoming live event he's referring to, or if there is one that you're planning. There could be a misunderstanding there, but I mean, maybe that's part of the question. You know, would events be part of this? And if so, what might those look like?
Yeah, so we are. It's kind of part of our go-to-market is live events, because I think there's a real use case for this there. You know, imagine you go and see someone, or you go to a live performance, you've never seen them before, you really like what you hear. Maybe you want to tip them for performing, you want to follow them to find out more about their music. You might want to buy the song that they just performed. All of that would be possible through the platform that we're building. So we're going to try and basically integrate be the tech partner for independent music events. So there's a guy we're working with. He works at Live Nation, but he manages a few emerging art acts in London. And we're going to basically operate kind of as a sponsor, but also the tech piece for those events. So the first one, I'm actually speaking to them this evening. First one of those will be in September, and we'll announce the dates in probably a couple of weeks. It's in London. We're in London, so it kind of makes sense for it to be where we are. But if we can prove that the model works, then the idea is, why not roll this out around the world, or maybe have, you know, ambassadors who are responsible for setting up, a bit like ICP's done. You know, got ICP hubs in different locations. I think that model is really effective and could work quite well for Trax as well. So, yeah, I do want us to be involved in live music events, and I think there's a real, you know, we can fill a gap there. So we'll see.
I love that. I love hearing an IC project going to a non-Web3 event with a solid use case. I think we need to see more of that type of thing. I mean, I feel like the industry is already, our niche industry is already kind of feeling out that there's an opportunity in this direction, because there are already 3 music-based ventures within it. But just hearing that, you know, this is also going to be bringing our ecosystem out of its shell a bit. That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Is this event going to be recorded, the Web2 one that you were talking about?
The event? Good question. I think we will. So the guy who runs it, he's really good. He basically puts these events off his own back. And we went to a gig for some emerging acts in London, and that's where we met him. And he basically said to me, it's not too expensive to like find someone to come in and stream the event. So then what we would really want to do is like stream the event through the platform, and then anyone who's on the platform can watch the event and then tip them or buy or follow the artists that they're watching live. So we'll have to see how it measures up. But yeah, I mean, down the line, that's exactly what I want to do, is sort of, you know, if you can take, I think it's a massive step for the music industry in general, actually, and in terms of like performances. If you have an act performing, you know, you limit the audience that can attend to quite a geolocated area. You know, they're performing in London, the people who are going to attend are from London. Whereas if you start streaming it and you have a global platform with global payments, you open up that artist to a global audience. So, you know, you can monetize it much better. I think it's just a very interesting concept. Same way, you know, you can pay-per-view on boxing matches, or buy, you know, access passes to watch live sports. There isn't really that thing for music right now. Like, it's starting to be done a little bit. Amazon Prime and Twitch Amazon Music and Twitch did like a collab. They did like a Drake Kanye concert. So things are starting to happen, but just sort of like, I want to watch Taylor Swift live tonight. You can go and watch her live stream and buy it and buy access to that. I think that's a whole new way for the industry to generate revenue, and maybe we'll be a part of that.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. I imagine a future where there's like a charity concert and people are publicly tipping with tokens using the plugs, little tipping with tweets, and it's going through your platform. Like, there's all kinds of possibilities there. That's really cool. And it's one, this quick question here. I'll end with. I mean, crypto is global by default most of the times, but I know that music industry, especially like there can be some legal stuff. So I mean, I guess it's worth asking. Is this a global platform, or are you also going to be maybe perhaps a little bit geographic specific, at least early on?
No, so it's global platform, and we already have, I think, people from over 30 different countries on the platform, and they're all earning. So,
oh, nice.
That's the benefit of building payment infrastructure that uses crypto and smart contracts as opposed to like a fiat gateway, is that you can enable payments to whatever country in the world that you want. So no, I want us to be global. I think it's actually almost a USP for us in some senses. So no, I understand where you come from the geolocated. I think we're more geolocated on how we will go about attracting and acquiring artists. Like, we're fortunate to be in London, where there's a great music scene and lots of the major record labels have offices here, and there's a big kind of music community in London. So we'll take advantage of that. But then as we grow and scale into different countries, we're going to have to lean on other people, have people join the team who can bring expertise from the Asian market. Think how big K-pop is, and all of those fans, and how sort of like passionate that fan base is. If you can monetize that, then that's really interesting. So I want us to be global.
Nice, great.
UK has some great artists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's got a really strong ICP community as well too, because the ICP event was one of the largest, I think. That was there. What was that, last year? And this is just a random question for me, right towards the end here. So, where are you working out of? Is that a co-working space? Is that an office that y'all have? It looks like a place where a lot gets done.
It's our office. So we have an office in West London. So yeah, it's kind of in a co-working space, but it's like a private office within that. If we're in the basement. I mean, it's a bit of a like boys' dungeon. We're all just like developers, and we're all coding in here and stuff. So it's a bit gross. You can't see all the stuff that's over on that side. But I
asked because it reminded me of my web design and digital marketing company. It was the basement of a church that was our first physical space. And it was because we could get it dirt cheap. And
exactly, it's super cheap, this place. So it's like great, gets us all in the same place every day. It means that
that's awesome.
We're constantly communicating. It just makes everything easier. As an entrepreneur, I like having an office. Luke is completely different. We have arguments about it sometimes, but I like having an office. I think it's important.
Well, yeah, your group of guys at the conference, I could tell that y'all had a really, great close-knit type vibe. And in Code State, we're global and remote, and it is a struggle to keep those personal connections. And so every week we have a team call, and there's things we got to do. We try to meet in person when we can, but that's expensive. So yeah, it's a cool approach that you've got, and this definitely seems to be working. Before we wrap it on up, Renegade, do you have any last-minute questions or comments or anything you want to say before we call it a show?
I just want to say that, I've heard a lot of different pitches, and I've looked at all the different music places on various different, platforms and blockchains and Web3. And I don't know, there's something different about Trax, man. It hits different for me. I really like what Canastor is doing. I think Trax is going to help lead not only ICP into music, but let's just ask you one last question, man. So say in 5 years, do you see the music industry decentralizing, or at least being partly decentralized because of this type of thing? And do you think that ICP is going to lead the way?
Big question.
I know.
5-year timeline. I think that's
predict the future.
Okay. I'll say yes, I do, and I think Trax will spearhead that. I hope. As you said, there is something different about the platform that we're building. It's not like what other Web3 music platforms are doing. And we want to keep that way. We want to be innovating and really pushing the industry forward. So yes, if we become a household name and we're built on ICP and all of those people find out about ICP as a result, then that would be great. I also think, like I said at the start, ICP is the most advanced blockchain network, at least that I can find, in terms of speed, in terms of being able to build proper web applications using a blockchain. So I'm very optimistic about the future of ICP, of Trax on ICP, of the ability for Trax to onboard new people into the ecosystem. I think it's going to be an exciting few years.
I agree.
And we'll be in touch. Code and State, we're planning the 2024 conference,
Nice.
and we definitely need to bring some excitement into music. I just went to the Rare Evo conference in Denver, and they had every single night they had a concert, right? And I was like, man, this is a good element. We need to bring that in. So we're definitely going to bring in music, and maybe we can find a way to highlight some of the artists you bring in or something. That'd be awesome. No, you've been a great supporter of the ecosystem, great supporter of the last conference and everything we've been doing. So just really from the bottom of my heart, Tom, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your pitch and all the great things you're working on. The ecosystem's definitely lucky to have you. And then Renegade, great questions, great input. I just love your enthusiasm, bro. You bring the love for ICP, and I like it.
Yeah.
Gotta have it. So yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys.
And I think one of our quickest couple wondrous items. We've got the Zealy keyword only on Trax. So those in the ambassador program, only on Trax is your word here. Next week, we've got the one and only Rick Porter from Discover. He gave a great talk, some really awesome alpha. It's about the Edge network stuff. And he's always interesting live. So we'll see what Rick's like next Thursday on the 7th at 5 p.m. CET. And with that, I think we're ready to tie it out. So everyone out there, keep fighting the FUD, stay bullish, and we'll see you next week. Bye, all.